What's up, guys? So I'm going to be doing a review on Toriko 272 that was recently released. Um, I actually have the chapter pulled up here on my computer, and I'm going to simply go through it page by page, having already read it. So I'm not going to restate any points that should be clearly mentioned or clearly found out after reading the chapter for yourself. So let's just get started on the important things. So my prediction last chapter that this beast coming out of the earth was something they had to fight was wrong. Turns out quite the opposite. This was a high level beast, 300 capture level, actually 265, not that strong. But again, it's a chameleon-like octopus which pretty much can blend into the surroundings and protect them while they're on their journey. So my prediction that this was something that they had to fight left by Ichiryu in order to get them to the next level was incorrect. However, regardless, I love the creature. It's not just how it looks, but mainly because of its name, the octopus watermelon. How they come up with these creatures is just astonishing. They're very great. I feel like the anime, which I don't think the manga or original creator is really a part of, the anime creates its own unique animal slash foods every episode, and those are outrageous too, just as good. Sometimes they're kind of bad or off base from what the original creator would do, but regardless. So I love this creature, the watermelon octopus, mollusk fruit beast. It just made my mouth water when it was described. This quote, "This beast is able to inhabit any area while it migrates. The camping monster, octopus watermelon." And so I just felt it's quite great. And it, in almost every way, it's very much like a watermelon. Quote, "While its flesh ripens, it sleeps in the earth." So it's quite astounding, really. And so let's move on to the next thing. I was hoping that this this creature, I'm guessing it's some sort of aberrant Nitro. Maybe he was the runt of the Nitro, or some sort of different type of Nitro that could talk. Maybe he was the one Nitro that could talk, much like Brian from Family Guy happened to be this one dog out of all the dogs in Family Guy who was born with the ability to talk. Because we have seen interactions with other Nitro before, and they seem to be like these mute creatures who are very strong and yet not that strong that they can resist being enslaved by Midora and bent to do their Midora's will. On the flip side, maybe those are just a lower class of Nitro. I thought they weren't that bad, considering some of them seem to be at least somewhat higher class because they had wings, but maybe they weren't blue Nitro status. Maybe they can all talk, but they view humans as such low scum that they don't. Who knows? But this guy is definitely different from the standard Nitro. He's more like some sort of bird. Maybe he's not a Nitro at all, but some sort of thousand-year bird species, something like that. He kind of looks like one. The thousand-year bird, I don't know if that's the exact name, but it was what was used to feed the human world quite recently in like the last 3 chapters. Anyhow, I mean, he's different. He's not drawn like a typical Nitro character. The only thing is he's similar to Nitro, and on top of that, I believe it was Toriko, called or guessed that this guy was a Nitro when they first met. So the rest of the chapter is pretty simple. He talks about how the baton's been passed. Ichiryu is depending on them. The gourmet world is very treacherous. And again, my prediction or my hope that it would be revealed, or at least he would somehow give away a little bit more about who he was, what species he is at the very least, was failed. So he decides not to tell them anything, and he says, I have to do a little something, a singles party, but after that, I'm off to the gourmet world after you guys. So they're off to the gourmet world, and it seems like all the surviving chefs and everyone else are off to part with them. And so there's a couple minor points, major points really, that have to be mentioned. So the capture level measuring device, that's going to be pretty decent. It's finally perfected, or at least somewhat perfected that they can use. Not going to be a huge issue really, because the captions really already tell us the capture level. It's just that they don't know the capture level, so not big a thing. And then there's this weird thing where apparently Toriko can somehow, using the instruments given, send ingredients they find in the gourmet world back to the human world. So I don't really know how that works, or how. I feel like what happened was, before all this, remember there was a prior collapse of lack of food sources in the human world prior to the current collapse, and that was before Akatia came and saved everyone. So my guess is that maybe Akatia went to the gourmet world and did something similar to bring ingredients to the human world, so they weren't all famished. Regardless, it seems kind of strange how they could do this. It doesn't really make sense. Maybe they're sending some sort of robot that will follow a specific path back to the human world as Toriko and the crew progress into the gourmet world. But it's going to be a great journey. They're finally setting out. It's kind of like, again, similar to One Piece in that it's like the second part of your journey. They're in a much more dangerous place. They're fighting much more dangerous stuff. And it seems like Toriko wasn't really that much experienced or involved or increased in power level after the time skip, because apparently it was revealed he was just pretty much sitting around the hot spot, or the safe spots in the gourmet world. Regardless, we'll see what happens. And again, we see that, I'm glad to see that Zonge-sama, we still see that bit of I would say DBZ Hercule comic relief coming from him, but it's slightly different in the fact that they always ignore him, and he has his own sort of flair that Hercule doesn't have, but it's still very similar. And so anyhow, we see all these creatures or characters saying that they will later on follow Toriko and the crew into the gourmet world later on when they're strong enough, even Zonge-sama. So it's kind of funny and awesome in the fact that everyone's getting stronger and stronger, and we're all constantly comparing them to Toriko and the crew. But I mean, the whole idea that Zonge-sama may one day go into the gourmet world is ridiculous in the fact. I mean, Toriko once and quite recently still struggled in the gourmet world. So if Zonge-sama ever made it there, that's crazy. So they're pretty much off, and it seems like they're all off to a gourmet world, and that's where the chapter ends. And I guess the biggest thing is that you know, they got their pets, and Komatsu's got his freaking octopus. It's kind of funny, not octopus, penguin. It's kind of funny though, because Komatsu's penguin has a power cap, whereas the other three pets, save for Zebra-sama, because Zebra doesn't really have a pet, save for that zebra pet, but that wasn't really a pet. It was just sort of this thing he used to fight the four beasts. Those pets don't have power caps. I mean, they do, but they're like at the highest level. They're the like strongest kings of the Toriko universe, whereas Komatsu's pet, once it's fully grown, its capture level is like something low, like 50 or something, at its fully matured form. So it's kind of lame. Again, I still love Zebra-sama. I liked his pet in the Four Beast arc because, I mean, it was a zebra. His name is Zebra-sama. I don't know if that's the exact translation in Japanese, but still. And finally, it ends with a little bit of comic relief with these four characters, four heavenly kings, saying which course of the Akati's four-course menu they want, and Zebra saying, "I'll take anything as long as it tastes good." And that's pretty much where the chapter ends. They go off into a gourmet world. So a very simple chapter. It was really a little disappointing in the fact that it was an embarking chapter. Not much really happens. It's just setting the pace. But these chapters sort of have to come because, again, the author is setting the full course of 10, 20 chapters. They're thinking ahead for that reader who has the book, and they're not waiting week by week for the newest chapter. And so when they read that book, it's this full story. So you need those sort of boring embarking chapters for that full story to actually satiate and work properly. Anyhow, that's all I wanted to say. As always, like, favorite, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.